Hari ini kita terberkahi untuk bisa menghadirkan salah satu ceramah yang berwawasan berjudul Solusi Sebenarnya untuk Masyarakat Bebas Karbon, kutipan dari ceramah Maha Guru Ching Hai, bagian ke-1 dari 2 seri di acara Antara Guru dan Murid.
You know how much goes into cows? How much acres to raise cows? And that land can never be productive again. Once a cow trample on it and eat the grass from it. How much land, how much water, how much medicine, how much pounds of grains and kind of protein grains from different poor country pour into the cattle before it deliver a piece of meat for one meal. It is a waste of human resource to eat meat. They say if everybody eats vegetarian diet, nobody is hungry, at least. We have more, too much more. We can export to Mars or Venus when we happen to find people there. Truly, you ask the research. We will print some articles soon about vegetarian benefits in many ways, not only you alone, benefit the whole planet. They make a list of conclusion, of the research, why vegetarian benefit, and they calculated everything. If everyone, not everyone even, if even 1/4 of the world eat vegetarian, nobody goes hungry. Can feed the whole population. Understand what I mean? Without even having to work much. And now we work a lot to raise cattle, to kill thousands, millions animals every day. Sometimes you pass by a countryside and they raise cattle. And when you pass by, you see the whole field black with cattle, And when you come back, empty, gone. The whole field, many acres of land, so vast, full of cattle. And when you come back, all gone, finished. You understand what I mean? It's a waste of product to eat meat. Never mind talking about compassion or love or enlightenment or moral standard, nothing, not yet. We owe it to mankind to eat vegetarian, not only to animals. Well, it's terrible waste of time, of the earth, energy and resources to feed the animals. They use more water than we human ever do. To wash them, to feed them, to let them drink, and they use more vegetarian protein than human ever can eat. And you have to raise a cattle many years before you can eat it in one meal. You understand? It's too much. We will print some article from the specialists, experts, in our next magazine. I have already selected some and have told the editor to print it next time. So you wait and research for yourself. Okay, you can get in touch with them and ask them how they come into this and ask them for the proof. But you don't need it. When you see the figure, you know what it is. You know the proof right away.
The only way to avoid the point of no return, climate catastrophe, is to take action on the most climatically disastrous course of all, that is, meat production. By now, we have all the evidence, all the information to safely say so. The livestock industry is the top greenhouse gas generator. The last published findings from the United Nations in 2006 told us that the livestock industry causes greenhouse gas emissions more than all the world's transportation sectors combined. Airplane, train, cars, motorcycles, etc. altogether. Updated calculations tell us that the livestock industry is responsible for at least 50% of the global warming. There are 3 reasons why the livestock industry is the first cause of global warming. that we should focus on. First, livestock is the primary human-caused emitter of methane. And methane not only has 72 times the heat-trapping ability, it is a shorter-lived gas. This means that it will leave the atmosphere much faster than CO2, within just a decade, as opposed to thousands of years you need for CO2. Therefore, eliminating methane by eliminating livestock breeding is the fastest way to cool the planet. We have to tackle the most important of emitter. Next, the pollutant known as aerosols, you already know, or particles released along with CO2 from burning fossil fuels actually have a cooling effect. Some scientists say it is roughly canceling out the warming effect of CO2. Therefore, much of the warming we are seeing may actually be due to methane. In fact, it is due to methane, and its number one source, that is animal raising. Third, NASA scientists are paying increasing attention to another very serious source of global warming, that is black carbon. I'm sure you know that. This is the particulate matter known as soot, SOOT, and it is 680 times more heat trapping than CO2. So black carbon is landing on the ice in Antarctica, absorbing the sun's heat and accelerating the ice melt. The majority of the black carbon particles in Antarctica are coming from where? South American rainforests that are burned for the livestock industry. Now we're going somewhere. We must urgently address methane and black carbon, both outcomes of the meat industry. Immediately we have to tackle it. I pray all wise leaders will halt the little meat practice, which is the main force driving us to the point of no return right now. Otherwise, all other efforts to decarbonize our economies may be cancelled out or never have a chance to materialize in the first place. What is in the atmosphere if we do not continue the way we are living our life right now, and we will not continue to overload the atmosphere, then it will decrease with time. Maybe a long time, but it will decrease. And what important is not to create any more, or not so overwhelmingly that nature cannot handle. Nature can help to absorb some of the carbon dioxide, but we overload nature. So we have problem right now, and we continue to have problem if we are not doing anything to prevent further destruction of the planet. See, there are already some advanced science to capture CO2 and mix it with seawater to create cement. That will reduce CO2 used by other cement producing method as well, and also reduce new CO2 from polluting the air. It's in the making still, and I hope it will be beneficial and on time so that we have enough time to prevent the global warming. But still, any new technology takes so long to develop and to be in the market. So the best solution, the quickest, the most benevolent, that can change everything from black to white immediately is the vegetarian diet. Because compassion begets compassion. If we stop eating animals and be kind to all beings as well as our environment, then we still can keep the existing aviation industry the way it is. Until some better invention, we still have time for that. If we change to vegetarian diet, we can keep everything, not just airplane, but everything else, transportation, car, ship, until we have better one. Even if we don't have better one, this is just a very minimum CO2, and nature can absorb and dilute it for us. It's just the meat industry that causes the most pollution for the planet, that the planet is overloaded. Nature is overloaded. The ocean is overloaded. So everything warm up because of meat and animal products. So airplane is a very small thing. So if we stop the meat production, if we stop eating meat and harming the animals, the good benevolent atmosphere will change everything into a beneficial planet for us. Even before our planet was good. But if we change into vegetarian diet, this planet will become a paradise, will be plentiful, will be peaceful, will be very happy for everybody to live on. So we stop the meat first, not the flight. But anyway, of course, it would be good if we have time to invent something new to stop the CO2 from the plane or from other transportation. But that is not urgent. That is not urgent at all because the pollution from transportation, including airplane, is minimal compared to the pollution that produced by meat. But for your information, in New Zealand, Air New Zealand is retrofitting its planes with the wingtip device so that they can reduce the drag and therefore saving a lot of fuels and reducing carbon dioxide as well. So other industry, other flight, other air can profit from this information from Air New Zealand. But it will take some time, all this, huh? And meanwhile, I don't know if we have enough time to wait for the new invention. So the best, the fastest is vegetarian diet.
Well, Supreme Master, about the issue of global warming, because I believe this is certainly an area that's quite close to your heart. I think what we're asking is what that means for the fate of ourselves and indeed our planet. Is one that more and more people are becoming aware of. And many of us are about, the burning of fossil fuels and how that increases greenhouse gases. Now, although we do our best to recycle and change our light bulbs and drive hybrid cars and eat organically local grown food and so on, but according to the UN report Livestock's Long Shadow from November 2006, that is actually not the number one cause of greenhouse gases, but in fact the report that found that 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions are caused by the livestock industry, which is more than all forms of transportation put together. For example, scientists have shown that say the average car produces 3 kilograms a day of CO2 gases, while clearing rainforest to produce a beef for maybe one hamburger produces 75 kilograms of CO2 gases. That's a huge difference of 2,500%. So for anyone wanting to reduce their carbon footprint, this clearly shows that eating meat has a much bigger impact on the environment than, say, driving your car. Would you be in agreement with what the scientists are saying?
Yes, ma'am. 18%. Pollution is just part of the estimate. Actually, there are other hidden side causes of global warming because it's not included, like people get sick and the price we have to pay for the hospital and the taking care and to develop medicine and research and etc., etc. And cost of the sorrow of people who lost a loved one due to meat-related illness, yeah? And all the change that we advocate up to now by society is helping, but it's very little, as you can calculate it yourself. Only vegetarian diet can truly help. And as every action provokes another action, and likes attract like. So if we save lives, ours will be spared. Everything else is just, secondary. The carbon reduction is immense by just being vegetarian. We don't even need to cut down on cars and transportation yet. Just being vegetarian, having animal-free diet, we will cut a huge amount of carbon dioxide to stop the global warming. For example, in just 1 year, if a person is having a meat-based diet, he would produce the carbon equivalent of driving a car almost 5,000 kilometers. A vegetarian diet would cut the carbon in half, 50% less, to the equivalent of 2,427 kilometers. And if that person adopts a vegan diet, meaning absolutely no animal products, either used or eaten, then the equivalent is further reduced to just 629 kilometers, which is 87% less than that of a meat-based diet. And best still, for an organic vegan diet, the most sustainable choice for our planet, that would be the equivalent of 281 kilometers. That is a 94% reduction in carbon emission if the person take the organic vegan diet. This is the statistic from Institute for Ecological Economy Research in Germany. And this is just carbon alone. We did not mention even the reduction of methane, which has 72 times the warming potential of carbon dioxide over an average of 20 years time span. So you can see clearly how a vegetarian diet can reduce at least 80% of global warming. Thank you, and I hope everybody take a vegetarian diet and best organic vegan diet.
Most people would like to reduce their carbon footprint. What difference would it make if they changed to a vegetarian or vegan diet?
A very big difference, Ben, big difference. You see, one 6-ounce beefsteak costs 16 times as much gasoline or fossil fuel energy as one vegan meal. You know, 1 cup of broccoli, 1 cup of eggplants, 4 ounces of cauliflower, and 8 ounces of rice, to be exact, according to research. 16 times. 6-ounce beefsteak only costs 16 times more than that whole vegan meal. Now, many scientists would thus describe meat as being hugely carbon intensive, including Dr. Pachauri, the chief of IPCC. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. If all the people in the world became vegan, we would eliminate at least 50% of greenhouse gas emission. 50%, Ben, greenhouse gas emission. But I know it's more than that. Karmically speaking as well, it would be significantly more than removing all the world's transportation, which is only 13.5%.
Really?
Yeah. So if we are vegan, we don't even need to worry about the CO2 yet. We do worry it's better to have a cleaner air, but CO2 by transportation and all that is not the grave urgency like methane gas and nitrous oxide and all the gases that produce out of animal industry. For my calculation, for my inside knowledge, and also scientifically speaking, 80% of global warming will be stopped if we stopped the animal industry. Okay. The well-known study by Eschel and Martin at the University of Chicago found that being vegan saves more in emission than switching to a hybrid car. Scientists from Japan calculated that not eating 1 kilogram of beef saves the equivalent of driving an average European car for 250 kilometers. Can you imagine 1 kilogram of beef equivalent to driving 250 kilometers and burning 100-watt light bulbs for 20 days non-stop? So we should know where our problem lies. Now, a study by the Institute for Ecological Economy Research in Germany found that emissions from an animal-free vegan diet are 87% less than those of meat-based diet. while emissions from an organic vegan diet are reduced by 94%. You see? Again, as the top climatologist Dr. James Hansen said, being veg is the single most effective thing a person can do to stop global warming. Yeah, that's without government, even without ado, without protocol, without any trouble. If the goal is to be a truly carbon-free society, we should consider all the major sources of greenhouse gases emissions. You see, we are emitting greenhouse gases not just through the fumes from factories, houses, and cars, but also through the products that we choose to consume. Besides, CO2 is cancelled out by aerosols, which are released at the same time from burning fossil fuels. So, it means that even though we have CO2, but the CO2 also have been cancelled out by the aerosols at the same time. Even though aerosols are very detrimental to our health, they actually have a cooling effect that cancels out the CO2 heat in the atmosphere. So up to now, the climate warming heat is not from CO2. Is not from CO2. The warming climate problem is not from CO2. It's not from carbon dioxide. I repeat, it's not from carbon dioxide. It is from other sources, mainly methane. At least 50% of total greenhouse gas emissions are coming from animal meat and dairy products. And it's not I who said this. It's all proven, researched, confirmed, and published by the top scientists of the whole world. If we only focus on the green energies, like solar panel, wind power, etc., it won't have much of an effect. I am so sorry to say. I have to tell you the truth because this is also my planet. Your island could be my residence in any time in the future. I might love your island. I might want to go there. So I want to protect your island. I want to protect my planet. So I have to tell you everything. Although I might offend somebody or I might not be very popular for doing this, but I have to tell you the truth. Because green energies is not an urgent task for us to handle right now. Because green energy only tackle the effect of maybe aerosol or CO2, which is not the urgent issue of global warming, the producer. The global warming effect comes from rising livestock, from animals. So if we continue, but 50% is still a low estimate. I would say 80%. There is also the burning of forests to make pasture land to grow food for the animals, and making the chemical fertilizer and pollution to grow the feed, the transportation involved, the constant refrigeration involved, etc., etc. And all the medical effect or the cause of the sickness of the people. Billions, trillions of dollars goes into the treatment of the people for meat-related disease. And it's not always even effective. It's not always even cure people permanently or perfectly even. Even we spend so much money and people have to go so much suffering, the disease are not always completely cured. In many cases, not at all. So people suffer, people die for nothing also because of meat diet. So to produce the meat for consumption, it costs sorrow, it costs suffering, it costs trillions of dollars. All these add up to many more times greenhouse gas emissions than all the world's transportation combined, and apparently more than all the heavy industries and fossil fuel power stations combined even. So in order to call ourselves a low carbon or carbon-free society, we must eliminate our meat consumption because that is the number one cause. We could say that is the only cause for our climate change. That is our meat consumption. This is in line with the recommendation of the world's leading climate experts, like chair of the IPCC, Dr. Pachauri, who is a vegetarian himself for the environment's sake. In fact, if we focus on shifting people to be vegetarian or vegan, it will save us much more money than green technology, and of course it's much more effective. And I urge you, the government leaders, because our time is running out, we have to act on this now. Please explain to your co-citizens this important truth and tell them we must work together to become animal-free consumers. We have a very short time to save our planet. We have a great planet to save. We have great precious treasure, that is our children, to save. And besides, the government and the people have nothing to lose by being vegan. For the environment, the absence of livestock will bring about much less pollution and less waste of water and food resources. For the citizens, there are perfect, nutritious, delicious alternatives to animal products nowadays. And, as we heard in the doctor's lectures, the vegan diet is also the best for our children. It's a win-win solution, as stated by Dr. Pachauri, and necessary to save the planet.
All information concerning the scientific evidence of climate change and its solution is in Supreme Master Ching Hai's book, From Crisis to Peace, free to download at crisistopeace.org.